Hello and welcome to episode 23 of Stucky's Travels. Today we're going to bring you to the country of Malaysia.
And you're going to need your hepatitis A, B, and typhoid shots. You're going to need your passport. Some of the cool souvenirs you can buy in Penang, always neat magnets. You don't have room for lots of big stuff, so you got to get a lot of small things each town that you're in. Also, the currency is really cool. The ringgit, 4 ringgits to $1. So we brought back a couple of those as souvenirs as well. Also, I have a correction from episode 22 when we were talking about eating Indian food in Singapore. I mispronounced biryani, so correction made. Ready to proceed with Malaysia.
So Malaysia is actually split into two main parts of the country. One is on the mainland, the other is on the island of Borneo.
So there's 13 total states that make up Malaysia. 11 of the states are on peninsular or the mainland of Malaysia, and 2 states, Sabah and Sarawak, are over on the island of Borneo.
Yep. And because Malaysia is so large, we're actually going to split the country, our videos, into about 3 or 4 different videos.
We spent the most time in Malaysia of all the countries on this past trip, mostly because we were visiting our foreign exchange student, Amira. Hi, Amira.
Hey, Mira.
This is just a more zoomed in view of peninsular Malaysia.
And here on the northwest corner, you can see the town of Georgetown, which is on the island in the state of Penang.
The state of Penang has over a million people, I think 1.7 million people. So the island plus a little bit of the mainland make that up. I was surprised to know that Penang Island is actually made up of 59% Chinese and only in the 30 percentile range of Malays and then several other nationalities. So that was an interesting thing to me. We flew to Penang from Phuket, Thailand. It's the fastest way to get there. It's only about an hour and 15 to an hour and 30-minute flight, reasonably priced. You can take a train and bus and minivan, and you have border crossings. So for us, it just made a lot more sense to fly.
Yep. So while we were in Penang, we stayed here at Tanjung Point. We were on the 29th floor overlooking the Indian Ocean. On the 7th floor down below us was the pool. I would not suggest jumping. So we actually had another hotel booked, but there was a landslide the night before we got there. And so they let us stay one night and then we had to find something else. Luckily it was low season and we found this beauty.
So this is us on our balcony. You can see all of us there, Luke and Adam and Farah and Amira and Miles and I. There's us in the pool on the left, infinity pool, so just looks right out over the ocean. Lots and lots of shells to comb through on the beach, and we spent lots of time swimming that first evening. The sand was really soft, like your feet sunk in like 6 inches when you were walking on the sand. Very nice beach.
So this is the town of Georgetown, from our hotel, both during the day and night. So we had a really nice view of the whole thing.
And this is just looking in another direction out across the water. So when we were in Georgetown, there were several different types of things to see. It's a very old city. In fact, it's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The whole city is, which is kind of unusual to have a whole city that's declared that. But there's so much of it that's kind of from old colonial times, and so it got that designation. But we saw this Chinese temple.
And obviously lots of very ornate things in the temple. A lot of these kind of pictographs with the lion, and there was actually a story with multiple pictures.
Just another temple. And then the main thing about Georgetown is the street art. And if you are into art at all and you're planning to go to Southeast Asia, Penang is a must-stop destination. There were so many. There were actually even maps that would tell you where the different pieces of art were, and a lot of fun things to pose with for pictures.
Yep, and some of the art was really old. This Garfield photo up in the top middle is really old compared to a lot of the other ones, and some of them they're still working on today.
There were a lot of ones that were interactive, so the next several pictures you're going to see shows how you could, be a part of the photo. I think it's a really creative idea, even to bring back here to the U.S. So Miles is on the swing just like the kids are. On the right hand side, there's actually a real basketball hoop with the kids playing basketball, and on the left, you can pretend like you're lined up at the snack stand as well.
And here you can get right on the bike and have the kids reaching out for you.
A few different places around town had the butterfly wings that you could pose with. Of course, I enjoyed the one that said a balanced diet is an ice cream in each hand. And then lots of kittens around different places. And oftentimes they would combine, like there's a spigot there with water coming out, and it looks like the cats are in some sort of water container. And so they tried to use a natural setting in some of their pictures as well.
So as you can see, like she said, lots of cats, lots of monkeys too.
So this area was actually called like an art walk or art lane. It was sort of like a block long kind of underground sort of thing. So there were people who could paint on all three sides, and there was actually a group of college students that were painting a mural while we were in there. All of these were inside of that art walk. So just so many really cool pieces of so many different talent levels and different topics. So Penang is really known for its street art, but the city of Georgetown wanted to do something else as well. So an international competition was held to find an artist and an artist group who could do something unique and different. So a Malaysian sculpture studio called Sculpture at Work won the contract and created these iron caricatures that's called Voices from the People. These are all wrought iron, so they're three-dimensional sculpture pieces, although they look like from a distance that they're just black pencil drawings, but they really are 3D. And they made 52 of these sculptures that are all around the city.
Yeah, so in this one, the guy on the left actually laid out this street long time ago, and today it's really known for backpackers, and you can see the backpacker on the right.
So they're all telling a story of something that was happening. And this one is talking about the 1800s and what was going on in this area with a proposed reclamation project along the seafront. And so it's a person from a long time ago talking with someone from more recent. So one of the really great things about Malaysia is the food. We ate so many different dishes in Malaysia. This was a area that was walking distance, maybe 5 minute walk from our hotel, and it was called Viva Food Haven, and it had about 20 different vendors that you could get food from, and you could just walk from booth to booth, order a dish, and then they would know what table you were going to sit at, and it was a really cool experience.
And all food in Malaysia is amazing, so very good.
We also went to a magic show. Luke and Farah and Amira all at one point in time or another were part of the show. Farah was with a scarf trick, Amira was with a card trick, and Luke was with a sword trick. So it was really fun to watch that. We weren't allowed to take any pictures during the show, but they did let us take one picture after the show. So the main magician was the gentleman on the left, and his assistant was on the right.
So lots and lots of different food choices. Like I said, all very delicious.
So on the upper left corner, that was called a chicken wrap kebab. And then the next picture over to the right is chicken satay. These you got groups of 6 satays on a stick. Really, really good. If you go to a Thai restaurant in the US, you can buy chicken satay as an appetizer. Way more expensive though in the US. Then there was garlic cheese bread on the right. It really was a unique example of garlic bread, but it was very good. And then in the bottom right hand corner, probably the most unique dish left on the screen was oyster and duck mixed together in a kind of a stir fry fashion. And then lots of fresh fish. And then just the picture at the bottom left was actually food that we had at a hotel at lunch when we were waiting on Amira and her siblings to get off of the ferry and join us.
Well, this looks kind of like the national dish.
It does. Called nasi lemak. So another place that we got to visit was the Penang Floating Mosque. It has a more formal name, but if you were to look it up, you could just type in Floating Mosque Penang. Really, really beautiful. We also got to go inside. I had to make sure I covered my hair and my head and my arms. So they have rental clothes that you can borrow if you're not dressed appropriately. So I picked an outfit that I thought would fit, and everybody was laughing at me, and I didn't know why. And it was because I picked a man's outfit. So I didn't know, but now I do.
Yep.
Just another view, you can see how many boats are waiting outside. Miles referred to this when we were talking about Phuket and how many boats are kind of just hanging out along the beach, and that's pretty common in Malaysia as well.
So then we went to a water park in Penang. It's called Escape, and we spent the day there.
It's kind of like a theme park and a water park. It's really two different sections. So many really cool things to do there. About 116 ringgit, so kind of an expensive trip, but more reasonable for us than like a Kings Island or Six Flags. And I would say in a lot of ways it was a more unique experience than that. If we didn't have our phones very much during this time that we were here because they had us put them in lockers so that they wouldn't get broken or lost. But if you go to YouTube and watch Escape official video 2018, that gives you just a really quick minute and 30 second to show you all the cool things that we got to experience at this theme park.
So here's just some of the things we did. On the left, Amira is doing one of the bungee slings that will slingshot her up in the air.
And then on the right hand side, they took us in the back of a truck up the side of a mountain basically, and then had us ride these trikes down. Unfortunately, not all the trikes had very good brakes, as Amira found out. So the slingshot that we had a picture of Amira, we have a video of Miles, and as you can see, he's trying to show off and do a flip there.
It was just natural.
I
I
don't
don't
think it
know.
was natural, but really neat experience. And then we took we went down to the water's edge. This isn't really the same area, but one of the things we definitely want to mention are the clan jetties. These are really, really old Chinese settlements, basically, that are really long walkways out over the water with dwellings over top of the water, and those you could walk along all of those jetties. There used to be 7, one of them burnt, but there's still 6 jetties left.
And then the next part of our trip was going to be in Kuala Kangsar. So to get to the mainland, there were a few different ways, but the cheapest and actually free way was to take a ferry across. Now, if you took the ferry from the mainland to Penang Island, it'd be 1 ringgit and 20 cents or whatever they call the cents. And but coming from the island back to the mainland, it's free.
Cars were allowed on this ferry as well, but the upper level is where the people were. And I think I could imagine at certain points of time it being very crowded, but there really weren't very many people on the ferry. I think the ferry's quite frequent. It was really handy that when we pulled into the ferry terminal, that it was in the same building complex as the bus terminals. We were able to walk over and get our bus tickets to our next destination, and there were a lot of eating places and shops to look around at while we waited on the bus.
And so then our next episode, we're going to go from Georgetown down to Kuala Kangsar. And even though the map doesn't seem like they're very far apart, I think the bus trip was,
It was about an hour and a half.
yeah, yep. So until then.
See you next time.